This is episode 7, titled How to Hire and Get Hired Right Now, which is a question we've been asked many, many times. So maybe you're looking to hire, but you're a little bit unsure about the timing or maybe the strength of the market. I'm probably asking your question, is now the right time? We're going to be covering bits of that. Or maybe you're a candidate and you are concerned that it's a bit of a crowded market at the moment with what's going on, how you can maybe stand out from the crowd and make sure you land that perfect opportunity. We'll be going through that too. And we'll also, a little bit later on in the webinar, be talking about the future of the recruitment industry. So please stay tuned. It's going to be a really strong webinar today. In terms of my guests, before we introduce the gentlemen, we are doing a live Q&A again today. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask to Rob, John, or myself, or all three of us, then please add them into the Q&A, click send, and I'll do my best to get them asked either during or at the end of the session. So, introductions. John, I'm going to come to yourself first, CEO and co-owner at Finlay James. It'd be great to know a little bit more about you and, of course, life at FJ.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm the joint owner of Finlay James with my wife, Sarah Gaughan. We had a management buyout about 3.5 years ago now. Finlay James company, we've been established for almost 17 years. It's our birthday, 1st of July. And, in that time, we've grown and developed a business that now has circa 45 people. Our head office is Didsbury, Manchester. We've got an office in London. We've got an office in San Francisco. And we've got a guy who's currently recruiting in New York. So we're involved in the tech, sales and marketing space. So we place anything from young graduates in their first job right through to kind of VP sales and beyond. And, over the last 16 years, we feel that we've done very, very well in terms of taking people on a journey with Finlay James. So we've taken people straight from university and developed their careers. So, for example, our MD, James May, joined us when he was 24. Our VP sales, Nick Guy, joined us when he was 21. And one of my ex-colleagues, Ben Rush, was actually placed by Prime. I think he was probably one of your earliest placements back 6 years ago.
Excellent. Yeah, we know the guys well, but it's really great to have you a guest with us today, John. So thank you for giving your time to this. Rob, fill us in on your background and also your awesome company.
Yeah, no, firstly, thanks to you and everyone at This Is Fine for obviously the opportunity to hop on today. It's great to be here and I love what you've been doing with the webinar series generally. I guess what's quite interesting, I started my recruitment career 12 years ago during the financial crash, straight graduate. So I guess I'm a case study of a raw example of someone who went through a pretty rotten time at the very start of my career to now owning my own recruitment business. So it is possible. That's the first message I would say. So I've got over 12 years. I've worked in sort of global recruitment companies, boutiques, scaled and exited those. And in 2016, my company's 4 years old, I set up Kissoon Carr, which is a legal recruitment company based in London. So we service international law firms with all forms of lawyering, basically. So from commercial to disputes, the whole suite. And we're on a journey. The reason there's two things behind me is we do a lot more than just the general recruitment, which is out there. So we've got a dedicated industry-focused podcast. We do a lot of our consulting, advisory work and everything else involved. And just last year, back end of last year, we launched our US offering. So yeah, we're a team of 10 and we're on an ambitious journey, and yeah, all things legal, that's us.
Excellent. Good to have you with us as well, Rob. And congratulations on the podcast as well. I know you're having some awesome guests on there. So anyone that hasn't listened before, I suggest you checking that out. And John, it's his 17th birthday this year. Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. We started. We probably didn't have the best first day in that we started. I returned back from Glastonbury on the Monday, and we started. There was 3 of us in a 2-man office on the Tuesday, so we had better days. But yeah, it's interesting to start something with a very small group of people, and then watch it grow and watch it develop, and see how people's lives and journeys get connected to that. And see how they develop as well. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but it's been good fun.
Absolutely. Well, happy birthday. In terms of the first question, a nice and easy one, well, not so easy, is what the job market is currently looking like. Obviously, we're all recruiters, so we're well suited and fitted to be able to answer this question. So again, I come to you first of all, Rob, with this one. How have you found the job market currently? Obviously, we're going through this crisis. What's your thoughts? How's it looking?
Yeah, I'm going to approach this from two sides. So I think in terms of the recruitment sector, I was actually on a webinar yesterday with 20 other recruitment business owners from a whole range of sort of small to large operations. And we got the real impression of positivity in terms of some green shoots of activity. And that's just not restricted to one particular sector. There were people who own education recruitment focused businesses, tech and so forth. So there is an exception that there is actually some green shoots coming through in terms of positivity. With regards to our market, or am I having a technical glitch? I'm not sure. With regards to our market, in terms of the legal sector, we're quite fortunate that we have had an opportunity to keep quite busy throughout the pandemic. If you can imagine, the court system is virtually operating. You know, they are still digitalizing and moving with the times, and there's pockets of areas within the legal sector which has kept us busy. As you can imagine, employment lawyers are quite busy at the moment, restructuring lawyers for insolvent companies and those sorts of areas is kept quite busy. But in terms of the recruitment side, I'm getting a more positive impression that things are slowly picking up, and I'm hearing of recruitment business leaders bringing staff or planning to bring staff back off furlough. Which is really, really exciting and, you know, pleasing to hear. So from an optimistic point of view, I see it as sort of picking up. I read yesterday that the chief economist of the Bank of England was saying he expects a V-shaped return. I'm not 100% confident on that, but I do expect, you know, that there is some green shoots coming through. So, you know, a lot more positive than probably where we were 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely. John, how are you finding the market? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, similar in terms of the green shoots. I mean, we as a business went from mid-March having over 250 live vacancies to having less than 50 within the space of a week or two. Now, we've found out our level of kind of job book has kind of fluctuated around now that 45 to 55. So it's not got any worse since April and mid-April. But what we found is with the furlough thing, we kind of furloughed quite early and we took initially 16 and that grew to kind of 32, 33 on furlough. So what we were conscious of is we didn't want to have too many vacancies for the people that we still had in the business. So we've not chased the market and trying to talk the market up and try and make, you know, 150 calls a day to make water go uphill. So what we've done is fill the jobs we've got. Yeah. So from a production perspective and from an efficiency perspective, we're actually arranging more interviews per person with maybe 10 people in the business than we were doing with 45. But we're concentrating on a smaller group of companies who are committed and who want to buy. But we found, I suppose, the US market that bit more robust than the UK. Yeah. So if I look at our last 6 offers accepted, 3 of them would have been in New York, 1 San Francisco, 1 UK, 1 Germany. So we feel that the US guys who couldn't be furloughed, and they're still cracking on anyway, you know, they've had less issues and less problems than we've had here in the UK. But we've now settled on, at the moment, maybe 45, 50 jobs. And we feel that come August 1, depending on what Rishi says, but we think everybody will be back in the business August 1, and we'll have a percentage of people coming back full-time, and then we'll probably have a percentage of people coming back on 3-day weeks as we get through August, September, October.
Brilliant. Well, what's really good to hear is that there is so many vacancies that you're still, you know, both working on. There's still opportunities out there. And I think similar from what we found really is there are still jobs out there, but if we're honest, there's a lot less than there has been before. And what we're finding is obviously the candidate volumes are quite high. So I think what we've got at the minute is a lot of people looking for that perfect role, but not as many clients. And the kind of way I see this is for clients that have got the opportunity to hire now, they're probably going to be able to capture some really strong candidates that I know are out there in the market. The flip side of that, the candidates that do land these roles can see that the company is really ambitious to hire now, and probably more recession-proof than a lot if they're still hiring through this process. So really good to hear there's positivity, but obviously being real, we know it's been tough. So if we now focus initially on the businesses out there at the minute, I've had a few good conversations this week. I think the last 7 days for me has been more positive in terms of a few clients that are starting to think about hiring again, which is great. What should businesses doing, or when should businesses really be now starting to look to hire again if they want to hire, but maybe a little bit nervous about the market? When should they be looking to hire? John, if you want to kick us off with this from a business element, that'd be great.
So, just so I'm correct on that, do you mean from a recruitment perspective, like Finlay James hiring, or do you mean our clients?
Yeah, generally businesses out there that probably do want to hire, but a little bit conscious about the market. And I suppose similar to yourself as well, John. I know you guys have been on massive growth, but naturally it might not be the right time for you. You might be waiting a bit further down the line. So, yeah, just overall view from any businesses and clients you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in kind of, there's three kind of parts of the puzzle for me. So the first part of the puzzle for me is to get all my furlough people back. And so some are starting to come back. So we've got some people coming back June 1. We'll have another tranche coming back in July. And then everybody will be back August 1. Now, we've also committed to people who we had offered jobs to pre-COVID. So we had our first guy start on the 11th of May down in London, and he's been onboarded remotely. And then we've got other people who will be starting probably more likely August and then September. So we want to make good on all the hires and all the offers that we have physically made pre-COVID. Yeah. Now, that includes people who don't have recruitment experience. And so my philosophy is we're now starting to kind of get our head a little bit above the parapet, in that if people come to me with good people, I'm now open to a conversation. Mm-hmm. And so I interviewed somebody yesterday who will have a second interview tomorrow. And if we hire that person, I would imagine it would be an August 1 start when everybody else comes back. So what we feel is, whether it's in the UK, Europe, or the US, we do feel that there's going to be a bounce back. We feel if all these people, certainly in our sector, in the tech sales sector, you know, if companies are going to exist into 2021 and beyond, they're going to need to sell stuff. So they need people to sell it. So what we feel is that our clients are going to have the chance to get better quality people than they maybe could have done 6 months ago, 9 months ago. We think salaries will kind of start to kind of maybe slow down a second, so people can get more value for money. And yeah, we will continue to hire. We think our clients will continue to hire. However, we're going to be looking for more from the employees. So the way they prepare for the interview, the way they come across, whereas in the past we might have taken a punt on a 50-50, we won't be doing that. You know, we're going to need to be 100% before we put our hand in our pocket.
Yeah. So candidates are going to have to make sure that they are on the money. And I think we're going to move on to that shortly, but I couldn't agree more. Rob, same to you really. When should businesses look at starting hiring again?
I think there's three things I'd say to that. One is around cash, one is about being bullish, and the other is around strategy. Cash is king in any business. So, you know, ultimately you need to ensure that you're in a financial position or have the measures in place for a business to make sure that you can actually do that. And I think the other thing that people will look for now is, when they're looking at new jobs, is their COVID strategy, in terms of, does that prospective employer actually have a robust COVID-19 strategy? Should there be a second wave? Should there be should there be any issues down the line? So I think the main point is communicating that you have a robust strategy planned out, and actually you haven't been sitting on your hands for the last 3 months. You've been proactive, you're planning, you've got something together. And I think the other point is, don't be looking to hire when everyone else is looking to hire. You know, if you can get first mover advantage and be bullish. I mean, we've taken on on 2 people. We haven't furloughed anyone during this time. We're obviously a smaller outfit, a size of 10, but we're sort of prudently run business, and we're actually attacking this in the best foot forward, in terms of actually, if there's good talent out there and we can communicate, we have a strong strategy and a strong offering for them for a long-term career, and that's from graduate level or above, then, you know, we're a good bet. So that's the way I would look at it, from a cash, from a strategy, and from an all-round kind of getting first mover advantage perspective.
Yeah, I think the point as well that was mentioned there was around onboarding as well. Obviously, I think we've had a lot of challenges, particularly as some clients that we work with as well, that would love to be hiring right now, but maybe don't have the structure in there for onboarding people. Seems like you've got that at FJ, John. If you've got somebody going to be starting, how have you found the onboarding process?
Yeah, that's probably a question for our MD, James May, who's done it. So, you know,
we'll give James a quick call. We'll bring him in.
yeah. You know, I think you'd have to wake him up at the moment. I think he's pretty. So I think James is doing the work of about 5 people at the moment, and the trainer, and HR, and fair play. He's actually getting the odd job spec, so he'll be a bit like you now, Neil. He's actually pulling the odd job as well, which he hasn't done for a while. But what's interesting is that what we've tried to do with the whole thing is do the right thing by each individual. So, you know, this particular guy, Jack, you know, if he could have been furloughed, we would have furloughed him. If he could have got some kind of benefit, you know, we would have basically put it back. But we had said, look, we're not going to lose you because of this thing. So we were made good on that. But what we've also had is quite an interesting story. We had one chap who, Rick, who joined us on the 1st of March, got COVID week 3 of March. So he was laid low for two weeks while everybody was then starting to work from home. And I think he assumed, and everybody assumed, we would just let him loose and we couldn't continue. But what we've realized is that with a skeleton crew, Rick has absolutely pulverized it, and he's done really, really well, because he's thrown himself into the work, he's thrown himself into the training, and he appreciates what Finlay James have done for him. So we feel on the other side of this, we'll get the benefit out of Rick for the next 2, 3, 5 years, because he knows that we didn't have to do what we did. Yeah. So he's now got more chance to kind of get my ear, or that of James, or some of the other experienced people working. And what we see that is, this is a great time for, whether you're, you know, 3 months into recruitment, a week into recruitment, or 10 years, it's a reset. So everybody's back to square one. So Finlay James, we're now a startup, and each individual who works for us, whether they're on the pitch at the moment or whether they're coming back off furlough, they've got to kind of prove themselves all over again in a new market. Yeah. So if you're a young kid, 21, 22, trying to make a name for yourself, it is a great opportunity. And it's, you know, I'm a Man United fan. It's a bit like, you know, an opportunity kind of, you know, was given to them, and they kind of grabbed it and made the most out of it and made amazing careers. So whether you're 22 or 32, you've now got to kind of understand it's a new world, it's a new market, and you're probably going to need to work, you know, that bit harder and that bit smarter and that bit more productively and that bit more efficiently to exist in what's going on out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't
take a question. Did you know you're putting a Liverpool fan on with a Man United fan before we put this together?
I was just about to say, Rob, I was just about to say that we've got the north and south divide, and now we've kind of got, but it's interesting, Rob, that you support Liverpool in London as well. So what's...
Couldn't you tell from the accent?
Well, guys, I'm married to a Scouser, so we always talk about, you know, we've got a mixed marriage. And we visited Sarah's granddad the other day, who's 98, who's kind of looking forward to winning the league, but they've not quite done it yet, have they? We've managed to delay it as long as we can, I think.
Yeah. We won't get into that debate.
No, probably another webinar for that. But it would be one of the only benefits of COVID. But let's not go through that for sure. Okay. In terms of companies, then we've been touching on it a little bit. How can you attract the best talent for your company at the minute? There are companies out there that are hiring. There's companies out there that want to hire, that hopefully today might inspire them a little bit more to take that plunge. but how can they attract the best talent for their company? Because I actually think now's a good time to hire if you're able to onboard, because naturally there's a lot of great candidates out there you may never get to see. So what should they be doing to attract the best talent, Rob?
I think there's a few things that I've done that have worked quite well, but the first point I would say is having a personal brand, but not having a personal brand that stops at you. Your people are your greatest asset. So allowing your people to have a personal brand, get out there. So if I give some case examples, within our team, we're affiliated with a lot of legal societies that have massive networks of candidates for us. So people sit on the board in our team of those societies. We have people who feature on podcasts. We have people who feature on webinars. We have people who feature producing mentoring programs. So allowing your people to have a personal brand and show that actually they can express themselves within the lines of obviously what the company believes in and where it's going, but actually your people are your greatest asset, and if people looking in see that, that's really, really powerful in terms of attracting candidates to your business, because naturally they're going to be like, well, I want a piece of that. You know, and being different and tailored to your market. You know, the Legally Speaking podcast, there's not many of our competitors that are even touching on podcasts or producing that sort of content. So actually being different and molding that into your overall strategy, you can attract really, really good candidates to your business. But allowing your people to have a personal brand, I think is really, really important.
Absolutely. I think a piece to take from that as well is I think there's a lot of companies, and I'd like to think that hopefully the sort of things that we're doing with this today, trying to add value rather than chasing sales, for example. You mentioned it as well, John. But obviously you've been doing the podcast from a company. Maybe some companies can invest the time to that, others might not have the same time. But I think doing things to add value is absolutely critical at the moment, whether it's podcast, webinar. A client recently forwarded on an email as well. I thought it was really well written, just along the lines of just wanted to see how you guys are getting on. You know, anything we can do to help. You know, now's not the right time to talk about vacancies, but you know where we are. And it was nice to see people with that approach to business as well at the moment. So I couldn't agree more with that, Rob.
Because we're in an online world now, you know, and prospective candidates are savvy. They're going to want to see that you have, you know, not just social media, but actually how does that relate to your business? You know, they'll go on Glassdoor, they'll look at the reviews, they'll do a lot of online research and DD if they're generally interested in your business. So you have to really have all your ducks in a row to show that you're a pretty serious operating outfit and you can bring value to them, because I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. John,
Yeah,
what
I agree with all of that. I think for me, I think storytelling is critical, and giving proof of concept and giving examples. So, for example, I was interviewing somebody yesterday, and I basically suggested, look, you need to be, you know, watching this webinar or watching this podcast. So I mentioned, you know, what we were doing today, and I said, look, you know, jump on, and what you'll see is what you get. You know, it's not, you know, Cummings in the Rose Garden. It's kind of guys being honest and straight and kind of, you know, telling you how it is. So I think what I mention to people is, look, you know, this is an example of an individual who joined our business at the same stage as where you are now. And this is what their career trajectory looked like. And why don't you jump on this podcast that they were on a month ago, where they talked about their career, that journey so far. So I think there's guys out there who've done amazing stuff. So people like Sean Anderson, Hisham, Dalton Doherty, these guys who are putting kind of the material out there and getting some great people on to be interviewed. You know, you can watch CEOs, you can watch MDs, you can watch consultants, you can watch guys, you know, who are on furlough at the moment, and getting a feel for what these companies are doing. Because if I look at Finlay James, I don't look back 3 months ago and look at what myself and Sarah and James did. And I don't think we've made a mistake yet. And that's not being cocky or arrogant, but we've put the time aside to navigate our way through one of the most difficult times in the history of Finlay James or the world. But we've done it where we put our candidates first and our clients first and our colleagues first and before ourselves. And I think if you can be open and tell that story, and then get people watching and listening to material, and then give them examples, and that's what this person did, and they had a slow start, but what we did with them was that, you know, I think the storytelling and the examples and the proof of concept, and then having them watch and listen to your material, they can basically see for themselves whether you're a genuine person who puts your people first. And, you know, the companies that have gone quiet, that we now don't see anything from or hear anything from on LinkedIn, who have got their heads down or just sacked everybody day one, you know, people will be flooding from those companies to our companies, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you'll see as well. I mean, you know, we've got a number of our staff, majority actually, on furlough. And I think I'd like to think that, you know, they will feel that we've treated them well. We've done regular contact, well, weekly contact, 3 times a week contact, all through training, development, socials and stuff. But for me, that's because they're still a massive part of the team, and we've not forgot where we've been and obviously where we want to get to again. And I think we will find companies that have had to furlough staff now that maybe haven't had that same contact, maybe have a struggle with the retention when businesses, like you've mentioned, FJ, for example, have been treating their staff right, whether they're on furlough or not. So I think the relationships we've got with our clients is key in terms of business, but the relationships we've got with our employees equally is key there. So really great point. In terms of the candidates then that we've got on, we've had a question come in, so I'll answer Brian's question shortly. We'll get that to you. What can candidates be doing now? So from a candidate perspective, we've seen it to set the scene. You know, we've got some amazing candidates. There's just not as many jobs at the minute. So obviously there's a lot of good candidates going for the same roles. What can candidates be doing to stand out from the crowd? Rob?
So I've got a really different point of view on this. I think if you want to stand out from the crowd to join Kissoon Carr, don't send me a CV and a cover letter. I don't want that personally. We're in a new world now. If you know I'm an active LinkedIn user, engage with my content, comment, get yourself noticed. If I like it, that's an easy cold call or an easy follow-up message to me. So actually add value to the marketplace. I'm a big believer that, you know, there's a lot of young, smart graduates out there, hungry salespeople who actually know quite a lot of got new ideas. So I think LinkedIn is a wonderful platform to engage with decision makers of recruitment businesses, and most good recruiters are on there anyway. And assuming you're aligned with their content and their values and what they're doing for their particular sector, that's a really great way to get some traction with key decision makers or business owners as a starting point. Whereas, you know, and it shows that you're thinking outside the box and you want to actively engage. You know, the basics, make sure you've got a good professional picture and all of that goes with it. But I would say LinkedIn is a really great way. I mean, our recent hire or latest hire was someone who got active on kind of commenting and getting involved with our LinkedIn and actually embracing our commentary. So it's a live example of actually, that's a really great way to get noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is our, well, generally our most powerful free tool that we can be utilising. We did a training session. Nicole Plinston, my business partner, did a session on this recently, and it was really well received in terms of people building their personal brands. But I say right now, you can put yourself on the radar of anyone, anywhere, any country, anytime, any place. And if you're doing it through added value, then why wouldn't you do that to stand out? So I think that's a great tip.
Exactly. And I think, you know, there's so much opportunity out there now. People just need to sort of latch onto it. And if you're going to do a CV, a video, you know, send a short snippet of yourself, a video in or something different. You know, I know people are using video already, but I think you can't just stay stale and expect to get a result. You've got to do something a bit different. Like John was talking about earlier, you've got to be hungry, you've got to be proactive. Nobody is owed a job. No one owes you anything. If you want something, you've got to go out there and get it, and you've got to make sure you follow through. The one thing I'd also say is if getting a job is that important to you, that is your job. So you've got to set yourself, you know, almost set praise points. You know, what am I going to do today? How many people am I going to touch point? What am I going to do? And actually treat your job as getting your job. Because if you just come at it without any consistency, any motivation for it, oh, I've sent a few messages out, that's not enough. You know, anyone can do that. What are you doing to be different? What are you doing to go above and beyond? And those are the sort of people who are going to be a star performers as well, who you probably want in your business.
Absolutely. John, what can candidates be doing?
Yeah, I think the key thing is for me, if, for example, you're on furlough and I think there's a bunch of different types of people at the moment. You've got your people on furlough, you've got your people who are working who are kind of considering their options, and then you've got, you know, your poor grads who have basically, you know, not even managed to go celebrating and they've finished the degree and some have done exams or not. So what I look at is that those three different types of people have got kind of 3 different kind of strategies to think about. So if I'm a graduate, you know, I want to basically find a way of communicating with people like me. So I would, you know, use LinkedIn, look at social. I'd find a way to start a conversation with me, and then I'd talk about, you know, how I'm going to offer some value. So I'd basically say, look, I'm not doing anything. There's no work. I'm aware that you do work in the US. I want to basically potentially do a project for you. And I could imagine Finlay James working on a model whereby, you know, we will do a bit of a deal whereby, right, you do a piece of work and we'll give you a chunk of cash, and we can basically start to develop something. So I'll give you a story which kind of emphasizes this, that there's a guy who's now a mentee of mine. And he's the only person, I think, in history, you know, I've offered him a job twice, he's turned me down twice. But, you know, I'll spend time on a Saturday morning helping him and his new business partners on a side hustle they've developed. But the whole relationship started with, you know, he was going to do an internship with us. He turned us down. He then stayed in contact, and we just kept communicating. And he spotted I was on a train down to London. He asked me for a coffee. We met. 15 minutes later, he had a 3-month internship that summer. And, you know, 12 months after that, he had a job in tech sales. And he now contacts me to get advice about, you know, he's just gone into his leadership role in tech sales. He's 22 years of age. Mm-hmm. And he's just been super proactive. And, you know, 3 months within Finlay James, he learned that, you know, LinkedIn is a great leveler. And if you can put yourself about and kind of start communicating, start contacting, and start having the right kind of conversations, he's suddenly in a position where, as I say, you know, myself and Sarah have done two-hour sessions where we're helping these guys with a business plan, and we're getting excited about it. Now, we do it for nothing, and you know, they enjoy the contact, and, you know, we're their kind of work parents. But that started from communication on LinkedIn.
I think the other thing I would add, Neil, as well, is I think some people are nervous about actually exercising their network. You know, work warm. I use this a lot within my own company about working warm. You know, if you know people that can help you, drop your, you know, don't be humble about it. Actually reach out to them and say, look, I really respect what you're doing. Have you got 5 minutes? You know, and actually use your network. It is there to do it. And I think this all comes down to mindset, unfortunately. Are you someone that's prepared to give up after a few knockbacks? Fine. Maybe sales and recruitment may not be for you as a long-term career anyway. Or are you prepared to actually, you know, as I was saying before, really, really push ahead of everyone else to get yourself noticed, everything that John's just mentioned there, and put yourself out there? Because if you are, I guarantee you'll get some responses.
Yeah, a couple of things that I suppose to give a quick summary of what you've both said. I think the big words that are striking home from this, and this is both from client and candidate perspective, is adding value. And there's things that you can do to do that. So, you know, we're working on a role at the minute. We've done all our marketing as we usually would. We'd also got job advertisements out and so on. But there's been probably 5 candidates of maybe 300 applications that have then contacted me directly based on an advert they've seen. So straight away, they go to the top of the list because they've been proactive in not just doing the basic, of actually trying going beyond. So I couldn't agree more. The basics work, but now you're going to need to do more to be able to stand out. LinkedIn video, little quick things that you can do to send a video to someone that a candidate wouldn't usually do, again, would stand out from the crowd as well. And John, I think your example of somebody there, for me, that's the guy who's going to be very, very successful because he's utilizing people in his network to stand out from the crowd as well. And anybody can do that, right? You think of who you're connected to, people will give you advice. People will give you the advice. You've just proven as a busy guy that if someone comes to you, you will give that. So, you know, who else have people got in their networks that maybe will introduce them to the right person or give them advice on how to do it?
It was interesting, actually. I was at a TRN event going back maybe 9 months ago, and there was a bit of a gap, and then I just got a message through on my phone from a guy on LinkedIn who had watched a video or a podcast or something, and he said, you know, I'd like you to be my mentor. It was like, I do not know this guy from Adam, but I kind of said, I was in a good mood. I said, yeah, let's go for it. So we ended up doing our first couple of sessions. I hadn't even met the guy, and we were having hour-long chats about what he could do with his business. And then when I met him for the first time, he was kind of like, it was like meeting a long lost friend. And it was like, look, some of the ideas you gave me, which cost me nothing, cost me, you know, a couple of hours of my time. But I felt good because I was helping a guy who was going through stuff I would have been going through 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think what you find, and I think we've both talked about this, or we've all talked about this, the amount of help out there for people in our role as CEOs, MDs, whatever, you know, we can go and talk to people. If you're a consultant or you're a recruiter, you've got peers to talk to and get advice from, and how are you finding it? And basically, I think get your head above the parapet and kind of make some noise and kind of find out. So all the information is out there, but you need to ask the question. Now, I think one of the issues is that with Gen Zs coming into the market, you know, everybody wants to sit in the middle row and kind of not put their hand up and not answer anything. So I've got kids at uni, second year at uni, and they talk about a lecture theatre full of 200 people, and nobody will ask a question for fear of them looking silly. That one person who does suddenly stands out, and the lecturer remembers that person who's got the balls to kind of, you know, have a conversation. So I think, you know, being average and kind of standing still and waiting for the right job to drop on your lap, that was tough enough 6 months ago. That's now impossible. So if you're a graduate listening to this and you think, you know, you're going to walk into that first grad job come September, you haven't got a chance. And as I said, you need to kind of own it, take responsibility for it, and you know, make it your job to get a job and put everything into it.
Absolutely. We'll be making a lot of people recruiters in their own minds there, won't we? Which is brilliant. So I need to ask Brian's question that's come in, which is around, are we seeing many entry-level sales positions coming through, or have they been put on the back burner? I suppose I can kick that off, and then I'm sure you guys can add value to it, and I know from Talent Scout's perspective as well, John. But we're starting to see a few more come in, but I'll be really honest, it's a few more, you know. So looking at where we're at, is the market back to where it was? Absolutely not. But are we seeing things over the last 7 days? Absolutely we are. So we've got a few more opportunities that are starting to come through. So I think if you're a candidate, certainly don't wait. You're just going to have to listen to what the guys are saying there, maybe look at more innovative ways to stand out from the crowd. How have you found it from that level, graduate level of opportunities at the moment, John?
Yeah, I think they've slowed down a little, but where it's quite difficult is most of my guys within Talent Scout I've got on furlough at the moment. So as I say, we're not chasing the market. So we might find like August 1, you know, these guys come back, we start to be that bit more proactive. We may well then at that point have, you know, a bunch of new jobs that we need to fill. And we'll only find out once we start kind of connecting and talking with and liaising with our clients. So we feel that market kind of has slowed down, but we've placed people at junior level during COVID, and we've had people onboarded at a junior level during COVID. So what we find is, if I look at Finlay James, you know, I'm still going to be as likely to take people on without recruitment experience, who I'm going to grow and develop and train, you know, moving forward, as I was 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 24 months ago, because my best people historically have been brand new graduates who we trained and developed and mentored. And my difficulty with this is, you can take somebody with 5, 10 years recruitment experience who were doing really, really well pre-COVID, you know, have they made the shift in terms of what the world is now like? So your rookie 2 weeks in could be more productive and more efficient and harder working and more appreciative of their gig than somebody who's got 5 or 10 years experience. So I won't stop going for youth and raw material, and I don't think our clients will, because who wants to pay, you know, 50k or 60k for somebody who might have 4 or 5 years if that person is going to struggle to be able to go out and meet people and utilize that skill that they've developed? If they could have 2 people on 25k getting through more material and exposing your business to less risk.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to come down to work rate and hustle. And I think the market will still take the senior people, it'll still take the mid-level, it'll still take the juniors, but they're going to need to see energy, hustle, and a positive, forward-thinking mindset. So anybody who thinks, I was 150k biller and I'm kind of 5 years in, so, I need a 50k basic, good luck to them.
Yeah.
I think
Rob, just a question back onto the clients that have come in. Companies are struggling to maybe demonstrate their office culture, naturally, because they can't get people into the office. And I know part of our interview process is always come and meet the team, see the office, spend some time. Any advice or tips that you can give to maybe business owners like yourself that do want to onboard but are struggling to maybe give that culture or demonstrate what the culture is actually going to be like longer term?
Yeah, I mean, we've invested, and I think it's actions speak louder than words, and a lot in video, actually producing video content so people can get a real feel for what we're about. We actually have our own designated videographer. We have our own designated diversity and inclusion officer. So that should give a measured, we're not just talking about what we communicate to our clients. We've actually got sophisticated roles which showcase actually we do want to improve the D&I demographic of law firms. We're actually got someone in post doing that. We do want to produce quality videos around internal and externally producing. So I think that's a really great way, and having an active social media that actually encourages your people to involve, and people can see that, they can get a real sense for people within the company, what they're like to work with. We talk about, we've got an active Instagram account, for example. We do Instagram lives. We showcase our Friday quiz on there so people can follow us in terms of interacting with us, asking us the quiz answer questions and little things like that, so people can get a real feel for the culture of the company and the people that are involved in the company, as and when they're following us, until obviously the time comes. But also, do a group virtual call, do a group get together, let them have a video call with 2 or 3 people within the company. That's something we did actually for our latest hire. We did it all virtually, did it all remotely. They're following us on social media, they're getting to know with us, they're interacting with us, and so we really reciprocated and rolled out lots of different people and did those group discussions, so it enables the company to really show off its culture and its true colors.
Brilliant. I think what we're getting from this is everything is doable. Everything is doable. Find a way. Find a way. A couple of other questions. John, what advice can you give to hiring managers that have got growth plans to deliver on, but are just a bit hesitant to the current climate? How long should they wait, or should they go for it now?
I'll tell you what, I didn't hear any of that, Neil, so you'll have to go again.
Yeah, mine cut out as well.
No worries. I was going to say it was quite a context question. I was wondering whether that, John, I saw you having your cup of tea. I thought he's taking this in his stride. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
So what advice?
I was going to plead the fifth.
I thought you would bring in James to get him
We're
back.
the lawyers.
What advice would you give to hiring managers who have got growth plans to deliver on but are hesitant in the current climate? How long do they wait, and are they risking out on missing the best talent if they do wait?
Yeah, my thoughts on that are, if you think about most business, I mean, we're in the tech sales space, and I know you do work in that space as well. And what you tend to find is there's a lot of companies, and we've certainly seen this in the US, where they've had a chunk of funding, they've got the cash, they can't go back to the investors and say, oh, look, we didn't spend the cash. That's not part of the gig. They've got the budgets, they've got the targets, they've got the investment, they've got to spend it. They've got to spend it. Yeah. So the idea is that anything is possible. And, what you've got to do is find a way of, you see it with restaurants, bars, shops, everybody's finding a way to get stuff done. And there's some companies who are kind of changing their business models. They're going to be so much more successful out on the other side of this because they found another way of getting maybe a different product to a customer in a different price setting, things like that. So I think my philosophy is, if you've got robust targets and you've got objectives and you need to get stuff done, now is the time whereby there isn't all that noise. So certainly for Finlay James, if you come to Finlay James now and you're looking for, a sales guy in London with this experience, that experience, I can basically put 2 people on that job, and their job is to fill that job. And they basically will work all the hours to find the right shortlist to get that thing filled. And so we're finding we're more efficient now than we were 3 months ago, because what we're now doing is we're more kind of hunting in packs. So if I'm a client and I can come to Prime or I can come to Finlay James and say, look, I've got this opportunity, I want to hire these 2 people, you've got a whole team who can be directed towards that opportunity. And that's what kind of makes them kind of get out of bed in the morning. What you've got is, it's a great leveler for companies, because it used to be that, you know, candidates would only take the best jobs. Now you might find yourself getting a higher quality individual than you could have got 3 months ago. So take the opportunity. Don't wait until all the big boys are recruiting again in 10s and 20s and 30s. Get your chance to kind of come in and steal, and take that little nugget now before the noise starts, is kind of my philosophy. And we're seeing companies doing it, and we're seeing small companies do it, big companies do it. And as I say, you know, we're a 45 person, £4 million business. We're still hiring and we're still recruiting, and we've not retracted one offer that we've made.
Yeah.
Now, that's because we were protective of our cash and we were well run, but, you know, we see the bounce back, certainly in kind of the tech sales space in the US and Europe and the UK, as being amazing, because these people who've been lost during this time are going to need to be replaced, because people will still need to sell stuff.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So answers to that question is hire now, or you will miss out. Brilliant, John. Thank you. Really, really inspiring to hear. And I'm sure the people listening for that will see that now is the opportunity to get those grade A candidates for sure. So final question for you guys. Rob, what does the future hold for the recruitment sector?
I think firstly, I'd just say I hope it holds a more collaborative industry. I mean, the industry has changed so much over the last 10 years. I mean, I'm having so many conversations with fellow recruitment directors, business owners, in terms of strategizing, changing, and actually coming together as a collaborative outfit. So I think the recruitment sector as a whole should actually become more of a collaborative industry, which, you know, if you're a young sales or recruitment, you may have heard horror stories from years and years ago about it's eat what you kill, it's, you know, it's just selfless, all of that. I think that's really removed, or the good people will still be around. So I think the recruitment sector will become a lot more collaborative. If we look at it, we're in the intelligence revolution, so we're in the 4th industrial revolution. So I think we're looking for people who can find problem solving. So I think the consulting side of recruitment, you know, everyone's talking about talent solutions more than just recruitment, and that's what we pride ourselves on as well. But there's going to be a lot of innovative strategies where recruitment businesses are looking at trying to get monthly recurring revenue on top of just running a temp desk. And I think, you know, that's something we've really been looking at. And I think if you're a prospective candidate looking at a recruitment business, yes, it might be a shortage at the moment of jobs, but it's really exciting. I mean, we have changed our business, not dramatically, but we've included some really innovative, new, funky strategies and opportunities for people to get involved with that didn't exist maybe even 3 months ago. So now, if you're a prospective candidate, really research the companies that you're thinking of hiring, because I can guarantee they've got some really interesting consulting offerings that would also build on the recruitment skill set that people will be looking for. So I see the recruitment sector also, there will be people who want to set up. The gig economy is going to increase, as we know. So, you know, there's going to be a mass across most sectors that's just going to kind of expand. So that's going to have impacts on recruitment businesses such as mine, yours, John's, etc., etc. But on the whole, I think the recruitment industry, I'll be even more proud to be in the recruitment sector. That's the biggest message I can say in terms of what the sector looks like. So I think we've taken some harsh learnings from this, and the people who have ran their businesses prudently, who have protected their people, who have done good for their people, they're going to do really, really well. And I think it's an exciting time to get into the sector.
Excellent. Brilliant, Rob. Again, inspiring words. So thank you very much. John, anything to add?
Yeah, I kind of think whether it's recruitment, whether it's, you know, employment kind of per se, I think the whole kind of social contract between employee and employer is going to change. So I think what you're going to have is people who've had a bit of time out and spent more time with family and got out and bike rides and things like that. I think you're going to have individuals whose financial situations are maybe different to others, and I think you'll have some people who will work 5 days a week. I think you'll have people working 2 days a week. I think you'll have people working on projects where, you know, when that particular client is working, you know, they come in and do some work, so gig type work within the recruitment industry. So I don't see herds of, you know, 20, 30, 40 recruiters in London out on a Thursday night having beers and kind of, you know, talking about their day in central. I think it's all going to be different. So I think there's going to be a split between kind of home working and office working. I think the whole kind of 9 to 5, I think that's going to go out the window. I think something Finlay James did a few years ago, which we haven't got time to go into now, but, you know, we had something we tried to do with like flexible working, Project Freedom, where people worked where they wanted, when they wanted, and all we were interested in was outputs. And at the time, it didn't quite work because, you know, the world wasn't ready for that much freedom and that much flexibility. Now, if I said to people now, you know what, John, you know, from June 1, all I need from you is 5 interviews a week, and I want them to turn into two deals a month. I don't care when you do it, what you do, you know, that's it, and that's what I'm going to pay you to do it. I think there's going to be an appetite for that kind of model. So I think it's all going to shift, it's all going to change, and I think there's going to be bespoke, specific deals between employee and employer that suits both parties and they both get a win. And, you know, every person's circuit. So I think there's going to be a lot of people working 4-day weeks. There'll be people working 3-day weeks. There'll be people working 9 months of the year and having the summer off because they can afford to do it. Because I think they've realised that, you know, spending loads of money and over purchasing doesn't actually make you happy. And you've got people sat on furlough, probably the richest they've ever been.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's all going to change.
I think also, Neil, I'd add that companies, you know, with the whole remote working thing, you know, opens opportunity for us to be quite aggressive in hiring anywhere in the world. You know, the remote offering is now, it's there. I mean, we're very open to the, you know, the 4-day week work from wherever. The only counter argument to that, I would say, and one thing I've noticed, as you know, there is a large percentage of sort of 1 to 10 company sized headcount recruitment business. You know, if you're young, you do want to necessarily be around people to spar off occasionally. So I don't know if the complete office shutdown not existing is going to happen, but I definitely see that remote working and it happening, because why shouldn't it? You know, I see this as the recruitment sector growing up. You know, it's, if people, you know, don't do recruitment to, you know, do recruitment for you. Do it because you want to be successful. Do it because you want to have your own prestige, your own legacy. So if you want to work hard and be really, really successful, then that's on you and you get rewards for that. But I also see little things in terms of changing of pricing strategy, maybe split payments, you know, clients demanding other different things. And I say the way recruiters are rewarded, like John was touching on there, it's not just going to be do a deal, get a placement. I think there's all these alternative strategies and consulting offerings that, again, is going to kind of look at different remuneration strategies for sales and recruiters. But I'm very excited. If I was there, you know, 2008, I didn't know what had hit me. I think having that retrospective experience of 12 years on, if someone had said to me in 12 years, you'd have your own business in central London, you know, it's flourishing, that's doing 7-digit turnover, that's doing exceptionally well, you know, I would have laughed at them. But, you know, it is possible, but it's all mindset.
And I think what we've had today, I think what we've had today, guys, is real positivity. So the future's bright, which is absolutely brilliant. And again, I think, Rob, you started your career in it when it was like this. So graduates out there, you know, what can be achieved. And John, you know, you've been through it, 17-year birthday coming up now, and you've survived and thrived more so than anything else. So really, really appreciate it, guys. I found this really beneficial personally, so I'm very confident our audience would have done the same. So if you have found it valuable, guys, please do give us a shout out on LinkedIn. We are doing these for free just to add as much value to salespeople and recruiters across the UK as we can. So please do give us a shout out. Next week's webinar is quite well suited after the advice we've been given today. And this is around how to build your personal brand. We've done one on a training element. We're going to be now bringing some experts together that are all around their expertise around personal branding. So it's going to be a great session, again, for people that do want to stand out from the crowd as a business to attract the best people, or as a candidate to get the right job and the perfect opportunity. So that's actually going to be next Friday, change of day. So Friday at 11 a.m. Details will be on our LinkedIn this afternoon. Finally, thank you, John and Rob. You have been brilliant. There's been so much insight, so much value. I think a few things to take away from me, and we'll do some summaries after this, but you've got to be proactive. You've got to be different to stand out. And most of all, candidate or client, it's all about adding value right now. Really appreciate your thoughts. Also, thank you to everybody that's listened in. Keep safe, keep well, and keep changing the perception of sales. Cheers, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, John.
Guys.
Thank you, everyone.